Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, I mean,
Yep, I can hear you.
okay, cool. Get this reset here. There we go. That's better.
All right, all right. Good morning.
Howdy.
Morning, everybody. Good morning.
Is it 10:31 Mark Standard Time?
It is.
Mark Standard Time.
He
Nice.
calls he calls CST Charlie Standard Time.
Charlie
So
Standard Time. Okay, got it.
And I'm in Mountain, so
You
MST.
are, so it's Mark Standard Time. That's great.
works really, really well.
Oh, that's awesome. That's
Uh,
awesome.
awesome. Uh, well, let's we might have a few other folks joining us. And I got some questions from Michael. Thanks for sending that to me. I thought it'd be good just to, what do you think, Paul? Just kind of see if anyone's got any questions that they thought about since yesterday.
Yeah, for sure. We can do that, and I'm sure that'll lead to, you know what I mean, other things. So that sounds good.
I
So
thought one
go ahead.
during your Thursday, I know that you mentioned before that on Thursdays at 1 o'clock you would meet with these people every week.
Mhm.
What was typically the format of that? Was it just a Zoom call and it was a Q&A of how to use the system more, or is it something that you had a prepared lesson that you're going to teach them each week?
Yep. That's a great question. So basically, it was a Zoom call. Um, and I don't know, I work on Zoom all the time. So if I was local to an office, maybe I'd go there, but I think Zoom's good because people can hit it from wherever they are. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Definitely makes it easier for people to make it to every meeting. It's hard to have a, you know what I mean, a reason like I can't get on a Zoom, really? You know. So we did Zoom. Um, and so there were a couple things that were part of that. One thing that I really like to do at the beginning of that meeting is ask people for anecdotes that have been occurring and questions and any challenges during the week or any successes. Right? Anecdotes, questions, challenges, successes. Because part of the goal is to create a community out of this, right? Like it's these, in this case, 9 people who are doing this thing together. And I want to really create that sense of community. Plus, it's really cool when referrals while you sleep kicks in and the first person has somebody reach out to them like, oh, this person I haven't talked to in 8 years reached out to me. You know what I mean? Like it's cool for these people to hear that from each other. And then it's helpful, like somebody's like, wow, nothing's happening yet. Well, let's dig into that. Oh, there's some tech issue. You know what I mean? Like it's just good to, I think, have the group just check in, right? Okay, so that was one part of it every week. And the second thing is that I would use that time to teach about a type of video because I really want to create um, video with these folks. So I would take one of the video types and talk about it. Now, here's what's cool is then I turned around and used that video type in my one-on-one with those people. Does that make sense? So it was like I had an opportunity to, and you know, for some of this, it was my opportunity to present the idea. Some people had had their meeting first, so they got to hear it again. It doesn't matter the order, but it was a chance to talk about this video type in a group setting, and then as well as do it in a one-on-one setting, right? And so we could play with that. Okay.
Can you
So
elaborate on what video types you mean?
yeah, I'll pull that up in a few minutes and we
Okay.
can talk through some of that. But for example, maybe I'm teaching about the Rockstar video. We talked about that yesterday, right? And so I could be like, okay, guys, a Rockstar video is this, and here's how we do it, right? Just explain it. Now, the other thing we did, which I don't think I mentioned this yesterday, but this is a great practice, is we started a Facebook group, right? That was part of this. I got everybody into a Facebook group. And the idea was to have folks uploading stuff, not just to their Dropbox link, but also to Facebook, commenting on things, learning on them. So I also, in the meeting, when we started talking about these video types, like if I had already done one of these videos with one of the people, we could talk about the one that was posted, right? And the Facebook group was a great tool for creating a little community. You know what I mean? Just seemed to work out really well. So I would do that. And then finally, and this was not, put it this way, you know, I spent a lot of years on stage, and I always said as a performing musician that the set list was a suggestion. It's kind of like our days as mortgage and real estate people. Our calendar, our schedule is a suggestion. We're going to see what actually happens, right? So part of this was also being flexible. And if somebody had a question that came up or a thing going on this week, like I'm having trouble with this, like I might just riff on that for 15 minutes because it was like I wasn't rigidly locked into, right, if there was something that came up in the moment. So anyway, so then the last thing that I would cover frequently was one of the teaching points that I wanted to teach about my USP. So for example, when I did the first initial consultation with one of these realtors, you know what I mean? Like we did that together. Then on the next group, I unpacked it for everybody. Does that make sense? Like, and again, it wasn't like I didn't do that every week, but frequently that would be part of it. Or like 2 weeks ago, I revisited the 100% during referral concept and why it works, even though I had taught that a long time ago. I just brought that back. So, but what I learned about this, a couple things I learned are, number one, like creating that sense of community is a lot of the value of it. It really is, like getting people sharing what's going on. Um, you know, all of those little things, I think, were a lot of the value for people of showing up there. And I'm not just saying I think that, because I think that I heard a lot of feedback that way, where people were saying, you know, how much they were learning from each other, and you know, the value of that. That was sort of a common theme. So part of this, like we do with clients, we hold space for them. We meet them where they are, right? This is what we do with clients. We meet them where we are. We move them forward. It's not one size fits all. We have to, the same skill that all of us use with clients is really, in a lot of ways, you know what I mean? I think is apropos to what you do with a group of realtors on Zoom, you know?
So, I don't know where everyone else is, but like for me, you know, I do a little bit of this or that, but I'm not sure my real estate agents would see me as an expert in teaching them how to do video, even though I may think I do it better than they do. But like, so, you know, when you're teaching them this, do they know like that it's something that you've mastered? Because like I'd be just, you know, faking it till I make it sort of thing.
Yeah, that's a great thing. So here's what I want to say about that. Number one, if you have an outline of video types, which we can share, like the ones that I used, it's by no means is this, but you could come up with your own, but anyway, like I have a little outline of video types, okay? Oh man, there's like three things I need to say about this at once. Let me start with a different one. So first of all, it's really great to show up and be authentic. Like if you're just learning this with them, that's okay. Just tell people that. And I love this anecdote, and this is just, I think this will make a point. is I remember the singer-songwriter Ani DeFranco before she was famous. She was in the Telluride Songwriters Competition, which if you're a singer-songwriter, that is the most prestigious competition on the planet. It's like being on The Voice or being on American Idol, if you're that kind of artist, okay? So she got selected. There were 10 people. Imagine this, you're unknown. You get on stage, there's, 50,000 people sitting there watching you, and there's 10 judges who are going to judge you and then pick the winner, right? Mildly stressful, right? And she did the coolest thing. She got on stage, she's into it, and she became a bundle of nerves. She couldn't play. She was totally like freaked out. Understandable. Like, and what she did in the moment, instead of fighting that, you know what she did? She gave out this yell. She went, "What?" She shook her body like that. And she went, "I'm so nervous right now." She just said it. And you know what happened? Everybody cheered, right? They got behind her. And she'd let that energy move through her, and then she could play. You know what I mean? I love that anecdote. I think it's really great for the question you're bringing up. And I've been reading a great book right now. I highly recommend. It's called Be Seen. Actually, that's a great book for everyone doing this. Called Be Seen by Jennifer Gottlieb. And she talks about working through these kinds of things there. One of the best books I've read in a long time on this kind of topic. So she talks about imposter syndrome, which is the whole deal. Like, what am I doing here? She was on that metal show, and she would have some of the biggest, rock artists in the world come off stage and be like, was I okay? Like, even those people are like, you know what I mean, saying the same thing I just heard you say. Okay. So a little bit of this is learning about how to be seen and overcoming whatever those things are. Everybody has that. All the realtors you work with, everybody, doesn't matter what level they're at. Right. And some of it's about just being honest. So there's nothing wrong with saying to somebody, you know what, like, I'm not a huge fan of video either, or I'm just learning this too, but we know it works and we're working through this together. Be honest. It's all right. That's my take on it. I don't sit there and go to people like, "Oh, I'm a video master and I'm going to teach you to be a video master." That never comes out of my mouth, ever. So that's one thing. Second thing is, really, if all you do and all you are going to do with these folks is do a video, that's an enormous success. That's all you're trying to do is do a video with them. Now, you want to motivate them to go do things on their own and do things with other people, and you're going to teach them and motivate them, but you're really taking on a pretty small piece of the pie. It's like, we're going to do video together, and I'm going to teach you about some other types that you can go do on your own. You're not, right? So we're not trying to climb a really tall mountain here. It is a feat, don't get me wrong. I don't want to, but it's also, you're not going into this like, hey, at the end of this 90 days, you're going to be a master of 10 video types and have 1 million followers on Facebook. It's not that, I'm exaggerating, but right. Good question though. But Jessica, anyone else dealing with that? I love that Jennifer's Gottlieb's book, man. I'd read that thing. That's awesome. Great insights there.
I just ordered it. And I think something, so Paul, he's a rock star. Like, he loves video.
Yeah.
He's never seen a video camera that he hasn't loved.
That's right. I'm like, actually, and if you put a camera up, I'm gonna get in front of it.
Yeah. And so part of this is that is something unique to Paul. Like, Paul is really good. He's done a lot of these. And part of I don't know, it took a couple of years for me to convince Paul. Most people don't like video.
Right. That's right.
Could you share, like, you got it when you talked to like John Wicker and Josh Keene?
Yeah.
These are really great brokers, agents, and what they said to you after you did the first duo video. I feel like that is important.
Oh, that's a great question. So yeah, the theme that I get from folks like that, and thinking of both of those people specifically, is, oh, that was easy. This is really natural. This isn't hard. This kind of stuff. And the observation of, oh, we're just recording the conversation. I love that frame. I did a duo video with a new user last week who was really like freaked out about video, and we know a little bit about just get on and do it. It's just a conversation, right? So I think that duo video is helpful because everybody has success with it, because all these people talk to people all day long. Everybody's good at that, right? They don't have to look at the camera. You're just on the Zoom. You're talking already. You just hit record. So it's
Yeah, I think that's one of the unique things about our industry. If you're good at real estate, if you're good at being a loan officer, you're good at talking about these things to each other.
right.
And you know, some of my folks up in Minnesota, they're like, "Oh, we talk about this in the hall all the time anyway. We're just hitting record now."
Right,
And that's really what you're doing with the realtors.
right.
Um, and you know, and you know, me and you, we've done some duo videos. So you can just, you know, that's the reason, you know, you do it with Jerry, you know, maybe you do it with Mark, or, you know, part of that is as you just do it, then you just share your experience with it.
Mhm, right. Yeah. Yep, that's well said. Charlie, you good if I share this rough video outline here?
Yeah.
Can I put
Yeah.
that in chat? I'm gonna try this, if I can find it. I don't want to get into a huge rabbit hole with this, let me just say that. But I'll share just a rough outline that I use of different video types and little tools that have been useful. And it's not laid out or anything fancy, it's just a doc. But let me, actually, I have a loan officer version of this if I can find it. I'll pop that in the chat. That has some insights about working with realtors on it too. But anyway, to go back to this point, yeah, the duo video is, once people do that a little bit, they seem to be pretty comfortable with it. I'm not overcoming that, you know what I mean, after the first time or two. Then we're just doing video. And the other thing I've noticed from that is once we've done a few of those, people trust the process more. They're more willing to take some risks too and try things. Right. So that's part of it too. Start with the, you know, walk before you run. If you do nothing more with somebody than do a video, it's a huge success. But there are some people, if you challenge them, once they have the confidence of that, they will go on and do something else. You know what I mean? And that's a cool thing too. So there's a realtor in this group, just talking about that, who really had just come through some pretty hard times and was dealing with just some bigger self-confidence issues and was not a camera lover. And the first duo video, like, she had a hard time even doing it because she's got a like recovering perfectionist. There's a lot of those in our industry, and she was all like, "Oh, my makeup's not right," and, like overcoming all that, and it's kind of cool. I just challenged her a little bit after we did one or two, and she realized, oh, it's not perfect, but it's not bad, it's not hard, is then I would just give her the challenge. I'm like, okay, guys, here's your challenge. You go do one of these videos. And she literally, I remember the day that she posted one of these videos to the Facebook group, she's like, oh, it's really not good, but here it is, I did it. And I was like, all right, we're making progress. But Mark, going back to your question, that reminded me, one other thing I'd do on the weekly Zoom is I would give everybody some homework. Give them something to do. Because that keeps the community thing going, like, okay, everybody, Go record one success story video about a client you served this year. Get that uploaded, right? So that just occurred to me. That's another thing we did. There's always something to do.
It's brilliant for two things. One, it keeps the momentum of the group moving forward, but two, it keeps you, not that you're trying to usurp power or anything, but it keeps you in the driver's seat.
Yeah. Yep.
That you're still the expert, and
Yep.
they're following your requests, and you can tell whether or not they're still following or not.
Oh yeah, it's a brilliant point, Mark. Like, that's right. And you can see who actually gets things done and how they work. And this whole time I'm sort of evaluating, you know what I mean? Like who is the rock star? You start to see it. Like this agent I was just talking about, she's a rock star, but she showed me that, you know? So that's a really good point. It's a reason to do that. What other questions? What else is useful to answer or think about?
I've got a question for you, Paul.
Mhm.
I know you and Charlie and Vireful only and love the group. And so for me, I'm not concerned about recording results in the least. So with these new realtors that you're recruiting and even loan officers you might recruit, how are you? I don't even know if you're having to overcome objections yet, but we don't really have measurable criteria for success. We're not doing calls to actions or click-throughs.
Right.
So for people who don't know you and love you, I guess, if they're saying, well, how do I know this works?
Yep. That's an awesome question. And I have learned a lot about that. So I'm happy to share that. Okay, so there's a few pieces to this. Piece number one is the context that we set up front. So when I'm talking about the beta, remember yesterday I said I really have to drill into this is not leads. This is your sphere. Okay. Part and parcel, what goes with that is this is not a funnel. This is not about click-throughs. Michael, I almost take it away. Like I almost go like, hey, this is not about like run ad, get deal. I say that up front. It's not about that. What I do say is that when you run the system, it will give you a few referral opportunities a month. Love that language. But your job is to hone your skills on converting those. That's on you. That makes sense? Like, I don't want to be like, hey, passive realtors, sit on your butt and you'll just get business. You don't even have to be good at what you do. No. This will create referral opportunities, but I mean, that's your skill set. So that's one piece, right? And I love really leaning into that up front. Now watch, there's a lot of education that goes with this, and you don't do it all at once. It's not like it's a one and done. So guess what becomes part of the conversation every week in every one-on-one meeting? A little bit of this. And part of the reason for a 90-day trial is it's a lot of touches to help somebody learn and indoctrinate them in that understanding, right? So I want to, every meeting, even if that question doesn't come up, be talking about it, right? So what do you get out of this? Well, you build influence through your sphere. Charlie, I love the phrase that you coined, compliant clients, where you have folks that just, the deals become easier. You know, you're not getting shopped as hard, people are respecting your time. So I talk about quality as much as quantity. Like what we're doing here is improving the quality of your business, you know, as much as the quantity, or more so. So context up front, be real clear. It's not a funnel. We're not, don't expect that, right? On the other hand, you're going to get referral opportunities, which is true. And You're going to build influence, which is going to improve the quality of your business and your life. I love all of that as a frame. Okay, now with that said, the other thing that I explain, and I talk about this in my own business, what I evaluate with referrals while you sleep is I evaluate the reach and the impressions. Right? I want to see the reach and the impressions. Like, see, if I'm building influence and I have a bunch of reach and impressions, then I know the tool's doing its job. That's how I know it's working. So what I start getting everybody really focused on is reach and impressions, reach and impressions. That's when you see reach and impressions, you know this tool is working. That's how you know.
And is that from within the ad manager you're talking about?
It is, although we also do monthly reporting. Now, I'm going to talk about that in a second too, because your point about chasing people and overcoming objections is the big thing I want to get around to here. So yes, people can see things in their ad manager, but we also do monthly numbers, right? And what I want to keep people focused on is just this idea. You got a lot of reach and impressions, this thing's working. Over time, it improves quality, and then you need to study and master how to convert referral opportunities. Like that's part of what this brings you, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so now here's an interesting thing that I learned in this particular beta. Like, you really are in the driver's seat with this. And I think as a lender, it's so important to remember that, because often I think as we go work with realtors, it doesn't feel that way in the traditional sense. I'm generalizing. Maybe that's not true for you, but I think a lot of loan officers have a more subservient or codependent relationship with realtors often. Just say it. Put it this way. I don't think loan officers have this kind of leverage. Let's say that. And I have to remind myself how much leverage I have. So you're in the driver's seat. Think about this. For the cost of ad spend for 3 months, you're bringing people massive impression and reach, totally done for them in a way that they would never do themselves, right? An automated, updated database and training. And they're going to spend a few $100 on that in a trial. You're in the freaking driver's seat, dude. Like I just keep coming back to that. Like that's massive value. Okay, so number one, of course, objections I always think of as questions. When people have objections, that's good. It means they're thinking about things. And I want to answer questions. But also, I don't have to convince, once I've answered a question, if somebody's, boneheaded, has their own agenda, doesn't get it, too suspicious, I'm not going to kill myself over that. I don't need to. You have that much leverage with this. Somebody's not into it, find somebody who is. It's not that hard. Okay.
Well, I guess case in point is I'm Mr. Skeptical, but here I am.
Yeah. Well, case in point. But here you are. And you know what, Michael? Sometimes people need to hear it or see it a few times, and that's okay too. They might be on the waiting list and see how their friends do. Who knows?
Yeah. Others may have noticed this, but one of the things I had an aha moment this week, and actually because I was talking to somebody else in the group about the benefits of the program, is the light bulb went off this week when I looked in the ad manager and I was looking at who was seeing the ads. And it dawned on me that my Google contact list is in the thousands and my CRM is in the hundreds. And so the people that are seeing my ads are people that didn't even know I was a loan officer.
Yeah.
And so when you talk about the reach, that's something that I would hit on,
Yes.
which is that the reach is phenomenal because I didn't really even contemplate when I was thinking of Sphere that I'm actually reaching a ton of people who don't even know that we do loans for a business.
Yes. Yeah. It's really well said. And I've seen that feedback that's a theme that I hear. It's a theme. I just literally talked to a loan officer on our team who started this last week, who was like, who, it was funny, he was like, I sort of bought this at first and wanted to only keep it to my business. And then once I realized I should put everybody in there, he's like I just got 3 refis this week. People didn't even know I could help them. I'm like, ah, right? It's sort of, similar theme. Okay, but let me get to the last point on this, which is the numbers. And this happened, this was not by design, but I had a great aha. So the monthly number report. So I was away for one of the months of this, and we tacked on a month. And basically, I didn't go over numbers with people at all during this trial, this particular one. I didn't make that part of the weekly meeting. I could, I'm not saying not to do that. It just happened this way, okay? But in this case, I literally went through 3 months having them do videos. They were having enough results that they knew it was working. I didn't have to sit there and say, let's look at your numbers and justify what we were doing. Because the value is so high and the cost is low, and we're making it fun and everybody's engaged, and we didn't even get into the numbers. That was pretty cool. Well, the other thing that was cool about that is that when we did get into the numbers, right, when I was going over a few months of numbers at once, it looked awesome. Because suddenly it's like, oh yeah, over the last, last couple months, you've reached 20,000 people, or 20,000 impressions, or whatever this, it depends on the person. And they're like, more than one is like, well, I would have never done that on my own. I'm like, I know. Like there's a little bit of let them figure it out, which I love from those numbers. I'm not saying that's, like I said, that happened by accident in this case. But when it happened, it was a light bulb for me. I was like, ooh, when I do the next one of these, I'm definitely going to do these at the end. And just be like, look, we're in this for 3 months. It's not about me justifying this as we go. You hear the music of this? You committed to this. You're going to show up and do it. And we'll evaluate. You're in control. I love it. Now, the other thing I tell people when we look at the numbers, and I passionately believe this, is it's what I look for is reach and impressions and video plays. So when we look at the numbers with a realtor, those are the things I'm looking at. Here's your reach, here's your impressions, here's your video plays. And since I'm talking about video every week, I want to get them really focused on that. Because the video play number won't be as high, but the power of it is 20x. Whatever number, if you have 1,000 video plays, that's like 20,000 impressions, I think. Maybe even more, because video builds relationship. When people see me showing up on video, even if they just watch a tiny bit of it, they feel like they've just had a conversation with me. That is the bomb. So like as the person guiding this, I really lean into that. Get video done, get it out there. Doesn't matter. Perfect beats, done beats perfect. Just be you. Like here's a duo video. Boom, boom, boom. Get it out there, get it out there. And then we celebrate the 8,000 video views they just had. Which is, that's really where people start getting the juice in my own experience with this. So that's the other sort of answer to that question, Michael, is I try to just get them to commit for the trial. You're not committing to this whole thing. It's a beta. Your commitment is to play big in the beta, and then let's evaluate. Does that make sense? Like that's a different commitment. Just play big in the beta and let's evaluate. I can't remember if I told this anecdote yesterday, but if I didn't, I want to make sure that I do. There was one agent in this group who's on a team. He's like an agent on a big team. So the team has a big whale leader, and they do tons of volume, okay? And they had and then this, not the big leader, but this one agent who's on the team was in the beta. So they had their Thanksgiving pie day thing. Everybody's coming to the office. The team has their big table and lots of people coming. So the agent that's in the beta is standing next to the team leader. And he said in our group meeting, now watch, this story came out in our group call. part of why we do the group call. He says, oh yeah. He said it was incredible. Like one person after another came up to me and commented that they were seeing me everywhere. They love, I see you're everywhere. Your marketing's amazing. And he said, after about the fifth one, my team leader's like, is that thing you're doing? The team leaders there. So my point is just, if you've got 3 months and you've got people participating, there's a lot of positive feedback that's coming from their sphere. And the interaction with each other and other agents who are like, man, you're freaking everywhere. They're saying that to them. Even people that we don't know that's going on, that does a lot of the question answering for you. You know what I mean? There's a little bit of that. Just hold the space for it and let the tool work. It's a really great question.
That social proof that
Yeah.
the group has, because I mean, it is quality, not quantity. It is boring compared to a bunch of leads.
Yeah.
And so this week, Allison is going to get a referral from, someone she talked to 6 years ago. And then next week it's going to be someone else
Right.
so when you get that group, they reinforce each other. And then a lot of times they even come up with the topics themselves that you end up talking about, right?
Right.
They end up kind of sharing
They
their
do.
experiences.
They do. That's right. Like that's also true. As you get going, then there's input from them, which is great. Yep.
What were some of the insights that you got from this group that you were like really excited to share with me?
One of them was the one I just talked about with the numbers. Another one is, so I talked yesterday about, also setting this up to be about your USP, because you want to set the context that for some of these people, there's a working relationship that could be, you know what I mean, in the birthing. So an interesting thing is that the market was really slow for this group this fall, and they didn't have as many opportunities to get clients to me as would normally be true. Not because they didn't want to, they just didn't have the same numbers as normal. And so what I learned about this is that we still had some clients go through and we got to tell stories, and I kept weaving my USP through the meetings, just always in there, every meeting, teach a little bit, every one-on-one, teach a little bit, and I think that for me, there's two big ahas that came out of this. Like this whole thing with a potential realtor partnership, it's like dating. Like take your time. There's no rush. You know what I mean? Just take your time. You want a quality relationship, man. There's no way of rushing that. And I think a lot of times as loan officers, me and people I've recruited, I'm trying to build volume, so I want to get some good relationships, so I get my type A going and take that to the dating pool, and it's not so good. And I mean, there's an interesting parallel there. If I think back, times on the other side of that coin, it's not so good. So basically, like what I learned was to just be patient with the process and understand that intrinsically there's a lot of contact and communication and time to get to know each other and work on stuff together, see styles, overcome adversity. Like, hey, there's not that many clients right now. Be truthful about that, right? Like we were talking about with Jessica, like just show up and be present. Well, so anyway, we've gotten to the end, and a lot of folks want to continue. And this is a big aha for me. So my normal sort of instinct and approach at the end is to be like, okay, here's a few options. You can keep going or not. And if you keep going, either you're in my case, you pay X if we're working together, you pay Y if we're not. Okay. So I'm trying to get people to want to work with me, the ones that I want. So My normal instinct would be to present that and be like, okay, well, if we're going to become a team, then here's the deal, and we contribute this much, here's your cost, and let's make that decision. And what I learned out of this is no. I want people coming towards me, right? So rather than be like, let's make a big commitment, I'm not getting down on one knee and popping the ring box open, okay, which would be my prior instinct. I'm saying, look, let's just make a commitment that we're going to work with 6 clients together over the next few months. And let's see if it's right for us to really be that tight team. You hear the difference? Like, I kind of want to be like, I'm not sure. Let's see. Really different, much more attractive. And it's true. What am I going to do? I haven't done that much in this trial to really know. Am I going to sit here? Have I been through enough client transactions to know if a deal goes sideways, if this person has my back or not? No, not really. And at least what I'm trying to build is if I work with a realtor, I want it to be a tight partnership. So to me, it's like, so that's been an evolution for me to come to the end of it. And instead of trying to be like, okay, now we could be partners. No. Now your next step is we'll work so many transactions and we'll evaluate and we'll keep meeting every week. Like I'll keep everything we have. All we're adding on is we're going to do this many where we do it as a tight team. And you get to see all this USP in action, which I've talked about for the last 3 months. And you now know as me, because you've heard it over and over in little bits and seen it. Does that make sense? Like that's been a really cool thing. Much, much easier to get folks to the next step. Right.
And here's what's cool. The realtors literally want to give you the business.
Mhm.
They want to test it out.
Yeah.
Like, it's the law of reciprocation. Like the majority of people, we're ingrained to give back. And we say the hunter has become the hunted.
Yep.
That's kind of what you're talking about.
What I'm
Like,
talking about. Yep.
they're like, yeah, like I want to send you some business, and then you guys decide if it works or not.
Right.
And you're cool with either way.
I'm cool either way. And also I'm in control because I'm setting the frame for how we're going to do that business. So I'm like, look, this is the goal. Like we're doing appointments together. Like this is me. I'm not saying this would be anyone else. This is just me with my USP. So I say, we're doing these appointments together and our 2 measuring, measurements are we getting a referral from every client? And is your speed of conversion super fast? And that's what we're going to evaluate together. And we're going to see, is the combination of you and me as a team running my system, does it create that for you? You hear that? Like I'm staying in the driver's seat with that whole thing. You're going to send people to me in the way that we do it. We're going to run the appointment the way we do it. And we'll see if this produces a result. Now, if it does, like if your speed of conversion is 3 or 4 weeks faster on average, and you're getting another client from everyone we work with, that's probably a partnership that's worth continuing.
They will want to, because that's
And
one
me
of the
too.
secrets. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
one of the secrets we found. Realtors only want one thing: compliant clients that easily close.
Yep.
And that's what those are.
Yep. Yeah.
One of the things I found fascinating, because me and Paul, we talked every Friday during this, and I would ask, but have you got any deals? And I was shocked. Like the first 2 months, you're like, no, and I'm okay with that.
Mhm.
Like I'm teaching them, I'm giving them value, and like my brain was boggled. I was like, how does that make sense? But what you just said makes sense. Like if you're going to be a good partner, it's going to be, me and you, like we've worked for, 6 years, done $13 million worth of transactions, and like it's a great partnership.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
I don't I don't bust your balls. Things
Yeah.
go sideways, we work through it.
Figure it out. Yep. Yep.
And that's what you're looking for. You,
It
you
is.
don't need a lot of me's.
No, no. Well, I would take a lot of views if I could. But you're right. Like really, it's the quality of the partnership that matters the most. For me, maybe that's not for everybody, but for me, that's true. I just speak one other thing to that. Part of why I was okay with that is current market condition, right? Part of it. What am I thinking? It's like one of the worst markets in decades. What's wrong with these realtors? Don't they have any deals? I mean, come on. Does that make sense?
Did you get stuff in the third month?
Yes, I've gotten business from there for sure. But
Yeah.
but the goal was, to have that be more of a part of it from the beginning. Honestly, I think it kind of worked out better this way because I got a lot more relationship out of co-creating with people. Like we made stuff together. We have a story together now that's not wrapped up in a client. What if that first client is dysfunctional? Does the realtor, when you go get a realtor, the first deal traditionally, do they give you a good one or a challenging one? Old habits die hard, y'all. It's a pattern for a reason, So I'm almost like, man, I didn't have to prove myself to these people. We just made stuff together, and they got a lot of results, and they got to hear about everything I do. I made them real curious. The ones, where we haven't finished a deal in this period of time. And they've seen enough now to know the quality of what I'm doing. What other loan officer is showing up with this? You tell me one. They don't have anybody even remotely working with them this way. And they don't want it to stop. So then I'm like, well, we can keep this going for a little bit, see what we think. I love that. That was it, Charlie. That was a big aha out of this. That wasn't an intended consequence, but like, I look at it, I'm like, this is great.
Love that.
Yeah, because I'm going to end up with a higher pull through on this group than others. Now that maybe that's coincidence, but it doesn't feel that way. It feels like it's a little bit of it's by design.
What I liked is you are truly giving to give,
Mm-hmm.
and they know that.
Yes.
And that creates real reciprocation on their
Right.
part.
That's a great point. Yeah. Because there's nobody going to sit there and be like, well, this guy was in it for the deals, clearly.
Right. Right.
It's a powerful position to be in.
It reminds me so much of what Simon Sinek talks about, just so many people in business are messed up with how they goal set and how they judge their success,
Uh-huh.
because so many companies are dysfunctional in saying this is the number that we have to hit. Like if we don't hit this number, then we're a failure. But if we do bad business together so that we hit this number, now everybody celebrates, but now they're starting over again with no relationship because they didn't start from anywhere but transaction based.
Yep.
And so now they hit a number and it feels hollow and they're just starting over again. But what you've done is you've created a system. The way that Simon Sinek says is the goal of business should be to continue in business. You see so many people that have left the business over the last year and a half, 2 years, that they just lost sight of the goal of business is to have a killer, long lasting business that goes on and on and on. And when you change to relationship based marketing and business building, I just have to say something, Michael. You mentioned something that sounded so much like me talking to Charlie not too long ago, just about like, how do I prove that this is working to somebody?
Hmm.
But in reality, I think yesterday and today, the best thing that I've gotten from this is just a mind shift of a way of being in business,
Hmm.
of this isn't, as soon as you pop that question and it's, hey, are we gonna do business together or are we not? I've just given you 90 days of value. Like, are we getting married or are we not? It's totally backwards from what we need to be thinking. If this is still good now, it's going to be good again for another 90 days and another 90 days. And when it stops being good for both parties,
Yep.
you just go your separate ways and everybody's happy, as
Yep.
opposed to, hey, I've given you all this stuff. It's time for reciprocity
Right.
today. Because if it's not today, then I'm out, because all of this stuff that I've done for 90 days where I was so nice and helpful and informative, that means nothing unless you're willing to pay me today.
Right.
Anyway, thank you
Brilliant.
for the Jedi mind tricks
Oh,
again.
yes. No, that's brilliant though. What you're saying, it resonates perfectly. I think that's a great way of saying it. I do. And you know what? It's sort of like our clients in this system. They call us when they're ready. It's not like we run an ad and we suddenly make somebody ready, right? Like we're not, yeah, they call us when they're ready. And I think that's a lot of the same thing with this. See, I think that with this amount of leverage and the way that I can set context with it and the way that I can be in control, but also let go, like, let things be what they are and just be in business, not be driving to like a ego driven result or, a thing like that, right? Like, this can evolve in all kinds of ways. And I'll just say this, and I'm just saying this as an example. You know, I run this program in that office for a few years if it's of value, and suddenly there's challenges with one or two of those in-house lenders. Don't be surprised if they end up on my team when they're ready. You know what I'm saying? It's just if they're ready. If not, doesn't matter. I'm doing business. It's all good. I got my business.
Paul, my perspective is a lot of times it's hard for us because somebody is in my database in all likelihood had a real estate agent. So it's really hard a lot of times for me to refer to
Mm,
realtors. So
mm,
this is an excellent opportunity for me to be able to help the people that have helped me in the past.
yep.
And with it being a bit of a down market, you know, um, it, I think the timing is wonderful. And I have to tell you just a little scenario. I talked yesterday to one of my agents that I had had a little conversation with before, and I just went through the points the way you did them in the call. And we've got an appointment with Charlie to go through everything with her next week.
Nice.
So
That's awesome, dude.
it was
Congrats.
things that I hadn't ever thought really about stressing before or just pointing out.
Mhm.
Um, like I think the thing that she loved the most is, and I think the really, really cool thing about this is you really don't have to do anything. We have the topics all laid out already.
Yep.
And that was like over the top good for her because she was looking at a different thing where they give you all this training on how to do the videos and everything, but you then have to come up with your own content.
So, it's a huge point. And to echo that, I've heard that a lot of from people, like speaking about this group, but even more generally, that whole thing of like, when we can reflect back on a bit of it running and be like, man, what did you have to do to make that happen? Like, nothing. It's really powerful. Mhm.
I think I was in my trailer in the woods when Charlie called me, and in about 20 minutes, we had my entire account set up and running. That's
See?
that's how easy this system is.
Well, and there's an anecdote, like that's part of your context setting, Michael. You talking to somebody, be like, I was in my trailer in the woods. Like, I love it. Like, done. Yeah.
What do you feel if, I mean, you know how I feel about it, but if, someone, they get to this and like they want to continue on with the calls with you, but they don't want to pay for referrals while you sleep, or what's your view on that?
Um, I don't know. I think it depends on the situation. In general, what I would say is this system will filter people out. And I want to be okay when it does that. Because part of this is I have a lot of leverage, and I provide a lot of value. And so I don't want to fight that too much. Like if the system is weeding somebody out, I want to look at that and be like, cool, like that's what it's supposed to do. And so in general, I probably would just let that be. Now, there might be a special circumstance, some reason for that. Like I don't, I'm not saying like I want to be a hard ass about it, but like, so I would think about the situation. There might be a reason to keep working with somebody in a different way. But, I think in general, it's meant to weed folks out and it's all right.
Yeah, I like that.
Mhm.
And that's the reason, I mean, really that, we've talked about all sorts of pricings, and our goal has been to make it just as inexpensive as possible, for a realtor, like for a realtor team. And like, I mean, they literally can't get anything close to this for a tenth of this, you
Right.
know. And that's the reason, like the goal number one, it lets you build a relationship, and then it's a filter, and like a, an agent that's a rock star that's doing a few deals a month, one deal a month, like it's really a no-brainer for.
Right. Well, and to piggyback on that, I think that, I love the frame like, hey, if you as a solo agent were trying to go out and do this, like you call up referrals while you sleep, it's $5,000 a month.
Yeah.
I love that frame. But since we're part of this team and this package, you have it this way. And if that doesn't resonate with somebody, it's okay. I'm not,
Yeah.
like it's, but I love that for the broker too. Like I could just say to them, like, look, the only reason you can do this is because of your broker. Such value for him, man. I'm helping him retain his agents.
Right.
Like everyone loved it. The only reason you can even do this for a few $100 a month, whatever that cost is for them, is because of your agent or because of your broker, excuse me. That's another really powerful frame. Which
Yeah.
I didn't sell that to the broker up front, but I sure shine light on the back end, and he sure is happy about that.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah. So any other quick questions before we wrap here? I want to be mindful of time, and anything else occurring for anyone that would be helpful?
Paul, do you have a sense for the people that you put on this last trial? Did they have databases that they were using, or was this kind of their introduction into having a good database?
A mixture of both. But what I will say is that everybody who had a database, it was limited. Like it didn't include all of their contacts. They didn't have as much reach, going back to that point that came up earlier as they got out of this. So even those who had good databases, this expanded it for them. And then there were some that just didn't have good databases. And by the way, that wasn't just the new agents.
So this might sound like a yes or no question, but my brain's just been bubbling since we talked yesterday about having this whole community where it's within a single brokerage, and I see massive value in that. But I also wonder, uh, if I were to put together a group of 8 people that were all from different brokerages, have
Yeah.
you done groups like that as well?
Yeah,
Where
for sure. And that's a great approach. Absolutely.
Okay.
100%.
Your first group, that's what it was, right?
Yeah, there's nothing wrong.
Cool.
No,
Massive value, guys. Appreciate being part of this.
thank you.
Welcome. Thank you so much, Paul.
You're welcome. I'm glad just to jump on and share some of this because well, it's really fresh, you know what I mean? So hopefully that's helpful for everybody, and I'll keep dumping ideas and resources back into the community here because I think it helps all of us, you know what I mean, move forward. So
Yeah.
good stuff.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you guys. Our referrals while you sleep mastermind is going to start here in 30 minutes for those that are going to hop on that if you get a chance. And Paul got that started. So that was one of your brainchilds, and it's brilliant. So
Good stuff.
thanks.
All right, friends. Talk
All right,
soon.
bye.
Yep, later.